those things against the two-time defending champs in their building and come back and tell me the refs are the reason that we lost. That really rubbed me the wrong way.
Greeny, weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Plus, you can watch and listen on the ESPN app.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Well, no George today. I'm Billy Derrick alongside Kelly Holcomb for the ride today. No George. He is feeling a little under the weather. We'll get him back in the fold tomorrow, but looking forward to today's show. No guests lined up so far, but we do have Terry McCormick coming on here in just a few minutes. We'll talk about some of the Titans front office moves. But first, send it to Murfreesboro. Say hello to Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, what's going on?
What's up, William? How you doing?
Good. You watch any football yesterday?
I did watch football. I was thoroughly upset about last night. I just, I know
I thought it might happen,
but it's, hey, Josh Allen said it after the game. To be the best, you got to beat the best, and just nobody. That's a tough ask. Everybody keeps saying, well, the Philadelphia Eagles are favored, which I think the Philadelphia Eagles probably. I was worried about Buffalo going anyway because I'm afraid that they were going to get in there and lose it again.
Mm-hmm.
But Patrick Mahomes, he's just, he's going to come back. It's really unbelievable. I don't know, some of the things they did defensively yesterday, which they did it in the Super Bowl last year against San Francisco when they needed a big play. They're going to roll him out, and it's called power pass, or some people call it sprint right option, but that gives him the opportunity when you got the back going out in the flat. He can throw it or he can take off running, and he just runs it every time. And they did that 3 times in the game, and you have to be prepared for that, and they weren't.
We're going to get into all that, especially the Josh Allen side of it, and talking to George today, like, if you think Josh Allen is the reason why, they're not able to get past the Chiefs, you're wrong. So we're going to get into all that. The Bills, Chiefs, Eagles, Commanders, obviously not much of a game, but the Titans have made some front office moves that I think have probably gone unnoticed. And I asked Terry to hop on here with us to talk about some of these moves. Dave Ziegler has been brought in. The Titans finalizing a deal to make him their assistant general manager, as well as Reggie McKenzie being brought in. We've got Terry McCormick with us. Terry, tell us about these moves and what this could mean for the structure and really the future of the Titans front office.
Well, these guys are obviously experienced. Both have been in the league for a while. Both have been general managers. With the Raiders, ironically, or coincidentally, I guess I should say. And they're going to be brought in here, I guess, to be lieutenants for Mike Borgonzi as he proceeds to undertake the rebuild of the Titans roster. So it looks like, they wanted to bring in some people who have a lot of personnel experience and a lot of, ties, around different organizations and whatnot, and try to get as many voices in there and as many opinions as they can as they try to come to a consensus.
I want to get to this, Terry, just the structure of what it's going to look like with the Titans. All of a sudden, you've got a pretty big room there with Brinker, Borgonzi, Ziegler, and now McKenzie, who's actually an older guy. I would guess maybe the oldest guy in the room now. But just what is that going to look like with the Titans this year, kind of the pecking order per se of the front office as we head into the NFL draft?
Well, it sounds like Ziegler will answer to Borgonzi, and I'm sure McKenzie will too. But Ziegler has the title of assistant general manager, so that would probably put him on the next rung down. And then McKenzie would probably be a rung down from that. It sounds like he's going to be heavily involved in scouting. And senior scouting advisor, I think, was the title that he was given. So it sounds like he's going to be advising the college and maybe the pro scouting staff, because they did let go of a couple of people besides Rand Carthon. They let go of Anthony Robinson, who was the assistant GM under Carthon, and I think there were a couple of more guys maybe that were turned loose as well. So in terms of how it's going to be structured and what responsibilities each guy will have, that probably still remains to be seen to a certain extent. But it's certain that their input is going to be valued as the Titans try to settle in on what they want to do with not only the number one pick, but throughout the draft and free agency.
Terry, on your way out, I know you're on your way to the Senior Bowl, which is always a big event for NFL front offices. Shrine Bowl, I want to say was, or at least the practices were this past week. What does your schedule look like? What is the Titans front office schedule looking like here as we approach this draft?
Well, there'll be some long hours down there. The practices start in the morning with, one of the teams practices in the morning, the other one practices in the afternoon. There'll be lots of coaches, lots of scouts, lots of front office people there, all trying to get a look at these different players at the various positions. And I know that, a lot of times they put more of an emphasis on the practice sessions than they do the actual all-star game itself and the results of that. Although certainly if you play well in that all-star setting, it certainly can't help you because, where the Senior Bowl and some of these games like the Shrine game, which is where the Titans staff was at late last week, to me, where this, there are a couple of things that it can really help you. If you're a guy that has some questions about you in terms of, maybe he's not the fastest, maybe he's not the biggest, maybe he's not the strongest. This is your opportunity to kind of show what you can do against other top level competition. And if you come from a small school, if you come from a school that's not as heralded as some of the others, if you're from MTSU or you're from Memphis or someplace like that, you're going to get a chance to go toe-to-toe on the practice field with guys from Alabama and Ohio State and the teams that contend for national titles every year. So that in and of itself is a great opportunity for a lot of these guys to show that they belong in these settings.
Terry, appreciate it. We'll get George back in the fold tomorrow. I'm sure we'll be checking in eventually throughout these coming weeks and figuring out what the Titans might do on draft day. But appreciate you checking in. All
right, no problem. Thanks, Billy.
All right, that's Terry McCormick from TitanInsider.com, Main Street Media as well. Obviously, busy time for the Titans right now, but a lot going on elsewhere. We had a big weekend of SEC basketball that we'll talk all about as well here in the update, brought to you by Lori Barnette Leland. You can find her online at mortgageladyyusa.com or give her a call, 615-969-4350. Kelly, we'll get into the NFL here coming up at about 3:20. We'll do that for probably a couple of segments and dive into those games. But Vandy did it again. They knock off number 9 Kentucky. George and I were both there. It was rocking again. Students stormed the floor again, and now they're ranked. Now, you didn't think they'd be ranked after the Tennessee game, but now you knock off Kentucky at home, and they're ranked for the first time since 2015. Auburn still at number 1 in the AP poll. They beat Tennessee Saturday night in what was a slugfest, 53-51. There, Auburn had a 3 with 30 seconds left to end up winning that one. But Kelly, and they were also fined, and I think this is something we'll probably get into with George and maybe even Tony tomorrow. But another $500,000, and now they're storming the field, and court fines are up to $850,000 since October, starting with beating Alabama. So that's going to start piling up here, and I mean that's a lot of money.
That's pricey, man, especially when they're trying to figure out all the NIL stuff. You don't want to be paying fines, and it's all fun. We were at I was at the Lipscomb game, my daughter's game the other day, and my son-in-law showed me them storming the court, and I said, it's all fun until somebody gets hurt. Mm-hmm. And that's eventually going to happen. Some star player or something is going to get hurt in the mayhem, but hey, I don't know. That's a hefty fine for Vanderbilt, that's for sure.
Yeah, it started with $100,000 after the football win over Alabama. Then it was $250,000 after beating Tennessee. Now it's up to $500,000, and that goes to the other team. So that's going directly to Kentucky if you're Vanderbilt. But also Tennessee, I mean, they fought last Saturday night against Auburn. Janai Broome was back for the Tigers after his ankle injury. He had 16 points and 12 rebounds. I don't think they win the game without Janai Broome, and we'll get into more of the SEC basketball results at 4 o'clock. On the women's side of things, Vandy entered the top 25 as well at number 23 for the first time in 11 years. Shea Ralph's team, and I know you've seen them up close, Kelly. They've got two wins over ranked teams for the first time since 2016. And the last time Vandy men's and women's basketball were ranked at the same time was the 2011 season. And we've talked about it. Like, there's no reason Vanderbilt basketball on the men's and women's side should be as bad as they've been the last 6-7 years. And obviously Shea Ralph has it going now. So all of a sudden, Vanderbilt basketball feels back to a level that we've seen it before. So that's obviously good to see there on West End. And Vandy will have the week off on the men's side. They'll be at Oklahoma on Saturday. Also, we talked about this, Kelly, the Todd Golden situation at Florida. He has been cleared from the Title IX investigation into allegations of sexual harassment that lasted about 4 months. The statement today stated that no evidence was found and ended its investigation in the middle of Florida's best season in a decade. I don't know that it's a coincidence. If Florida was down right now,
that's what I was about to ask you. What do you think? If Florida was struggling right now, do you think we would find some allegations?
I think so. I mean, I don't know enough about this, and we probably should get somebody on from Florida. But I mean, could you imagine if they're sitting at middle of the road or bottom half of the league right now? You'd think they might make some sort of move, but we talked about it like with football. This happened when there was a lot of talk about Billy Napier being let go as well, and I don't know that this is it's technically the end of it, but I don't know that it really is. So we'll see there, but he has been cleared, so nothing doing there with the investigation. Also in college football, listen to this, Kelly. Ohio State defensive coordinator Jim Knowles is expected to become the next defensive coordinator at Penn State now. So Penn State said, give us your DC.
We can't beat you, so we're going to start having you join us. Wow.
I mean, that seems like a move. That seems like a big boy move to where they paid up and said, to beat them, we need their DC, and I'm sure their offense might be a little different. They'll still have Jeremiah Smith, but I mean, if Penn State doesn't beat Ohio State next year, something's really wrong.
How much do you know how much he got paid, Billy?
I don't know. I don't know.
They had to buck up, I promise you.
Oh yeah. I mean,
to leave Ohio State? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, with what Ohio State spent, I saw something on Twitter where Ohio State, this is on On3 Sports on Twitter, Ohio State athletics operated at a $37 million deficit last year.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, is that NIL money that they spent? I'm trying to figure out. The athletic department spent a record $292 million from July 1st to June 30th of 2024. It also saw a dip in overall revenue. So maybe they just cleared out some money with this move for Jim Knowles headed over to Penn State. So we got that going on. Also, we already talked about this, but Brian Schottenheimer has been made official with the Cowboys. His press conference was today. He walked to the stage to be introduced, walking by all the Super Bowl trophies. 29 years have passed since the Cowboys' last appearance in a Super Bowl or NFC Championship game. Kelly, he had, he said the objective, the main thing is we want to win the Super Bowl. Well, he's never been a head coach. I don't know that we talked a lot about that hire, and it might have happened. That might have been announced on Friday when you weren't here with us, but what'd you think of that? Schottenheimer to Big D.
I don't know. He's got a famous name. Obviously, his dad was the coach for the Kansas City Chiefs for a long time. The Cleveland Browns, Marty Schottenheimer. He's got the lineage, that's for sure. I just don't know. Where was he last year? Was he with the Cowboys? He wasn't with the Cowboys, was he?
No, it's his first stint as a head coach. He interviewed with 6 other teams. Where was he? That's a good question, Kelly.
He's under the microscope, though, man. You understand that. When you go to Dallas, first-time head coach. They have not been very successful since Jimmy Johnson. We talk about that all the time, but that's amazing. 29 years since they last appeared in the Super Bowl, and I think Jimmy Johnson probably thought, hey, this is pretty easy. He took over the team and got Jimmy Johnson, and he won 2, and then he brought in Barry Switzer. Of course, he had Troy Aikman, who was the catalyst for all that, and he had Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin, and Jay Novacek, and all those guys, and just has not added up. And until Jerry Jones, which he's never going to do that. He's just a micromanager. He's not ever going to do it. He wants to be the reason why, and it takes a guy like Brian Schottenheimer to take that job, because there's too many variables that when I went in there and I had an interview with him, I would ask, but you understand who's controlling that whole situation is Jerry Jones, and you're not going to have much say in it. Now, I don't know. That's a tough gig for me, and hopefully he succeeds, because I think he's a good guy. But you never know how a guy's going to react as a head football coach.
Let's go over to Pittsburgh for this last piece here. Steelers owner and president Art Rooney came out and said that securing a quarterback is the team's priority, and it's his preference to sign either Fields or Russell Wilson this offseason. He said it's unlikely that they bring back both. He said, I wouldn't close the door, but I'd say it's probably unlikely we bring back both. I think both of them see themselves as starters in the league, and I don't know that they want to share the same job again next year. So I would say most likely we probably don't wind up bringing them both back. I mean, if you're the Titans, are you looking at one of either Russell Wilson or Justin Fields if they do move them? I don't know how they would. I would guess they just release one of them. I don't think either one of them would be involved in a trade. But I
don't see like either one of them is a fit here, because Russell Wilson's already kind of been in this offense where it's get rid of the football. Now they kind of altered some things for Bo Nix, but Russell Wilson was out there in Denver, and he and the coach didn't have any chemistry. Sean Payton, they did not have any chemistry, and that just was not the right fit for him. If it's me, I'm trying to keep Russell Wilson. I'm letting Justin Fields go, because I just think there's still too many questions about Justin Fields. He went to Chicago as a first pick or a first round pick for those guys, and of course that's a hot mess in Chicago. We've already seen that, but I don't know. I would not go after Justin Fields if I were the Tennessee Titans. Yeah,
you're right. I actually just thought about that. Like that, neither one of them probably going to be too much of a fit with the Titans. But we'll continue to talk more Titans. We'll probably get Terry McCormick on a little bit later this week. But coming up, we're going to talk all about the Chiefs and the Bills from Kelly's perspective. Tough day yesterday with the Bills. Also, the Eagles Commanders. We'll talk a little bit about that, and then look ahead to the Super Bowl with another meeting between the Chiefs and the Eagles. So we got all that on tap here in this hour, and then we'll open up the phones later in the 4 o'clock. We'll talk a little SEC basketball as well. So get ready to hop into the phone lines in the chat room as well. But we'll be right back. This is 94.9 The Fan.
New year, new priorities. Family and safety come first. If a car or truck accident disrupts your life, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, experienced, and ready to fight for you. Call 615-242-9000. Happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling. They enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com. To quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Hey, Preds fans, the Predators return to action Wednesday night on home ice when they host the Vancouver Canucks. The game is at 8 o'clock for national television in Canada. As always, we'll have you covered all night long on Preds Radio.
Smashville lives here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Super Bowl is set. Chiefs, Eagles here in a couple of weeks. The line right now is out. I had it in front of me. Did you say Eagles? I thought I had that in front of me, Kelly. Or the Chiefs.
I think it's Chief -2.
-2. Okay, yeah. That's what I thought. Minus 1.5. I think I saw. I guess it's up to 2 now with the Chiefs. But let's get in. I want to start with the Chiefs and the Bills. And it started out, the Bills, that first drive on defense was really bad. That first drive on offense, they got the ball first and didn't do anything. Chiefs went down the field and scored to take an early 7-0 lead. But they settled down. And even, the Chiefs had a little bit of separation there. I think it was third quarter. Bills ended up fighting back, and they were right there. But, the 4th and 1, Kelly, was obviously massive, and it did look like he was a little bit short. Thought he might have had it there right away. But, what do you look at in this game as the biggest reason why the Bills couldn't get it done again?
Just couldn't stop them when they needed to. They came out in the second half and they started playing better. They brought a little pressure on Patrick Mahomes, but just they couldn't sustain it. It's hard to sustain it against the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going for the third straight Super Bowl victory. No other franchise has ever done that. So and I think Kansas City, I think there were 4 of the teams, and I think Kansas City might have been the 5th one, but I think there were 4 other teams that made it after 2 Super Bowls, made it to the championship game, and every one of them lost. So Kansas City's already done something historic with winning that game. But it's like when you have empty possessions against those guys, they don't have too many empty possessions, and where they don't get at least a field goal. So when you're playing uphill, Josh Allen looked a little right. Hey, here's the deal. AFC Championship game. He's obviously been there before, but you're a little shaky. Your nerves are up there. You're anxious.
Yeah.
He threw a couple of tall balls, bad balls on that first drive, but in order to be the best, you've got to beat the best. And until somebody does that against Kansas City, Kansas City's they're the team to beat. They're just, you can't make mistakes with them. They remind me of when I was growing up. They remind me of the San Francisco 49ers when Joe Montana was there and Bill Walsh and Roger Craig and all those guys. Jerry Rice, Taylor, the other wide. You just can't make mistakes on them, because when you do make mistakes, they take advantage of it, and that's what good teams do. That's what Brady used to do. That's what Peyton used to do. When you make a mistake, that's what they force you to do. You know, and it's always in the back of your mind. You know, if you're having empty possessions and you're not scoring, that they're going to score, and it starts creeping into your head, and you start pressing a little bit. And I think that's what you get into with the Kansas City Chiefs. Every team does it. Every team knows that Patrick Mahomes has been there. He's done that. They protect him. He can move. He's healthy. They've got guys outside with the Worthy kid, with Smith-Schuster, Travis Kelce. It's unlimited. And they got Hollywood Brown back. He made some plays yesterday. So it's just tough to go into Kansas City and beat them. They went up to Baltimore last year and beat Baltimore. So until you beat them, they're the best in the business right now, Billy. They really are, and it's tough to put a 4-quarter game against those guys because you're going to make a mistake and they won't.
George and I talked about it this morning, but the defense, it seems to me, and a lot of people have this opinion too, that the Bills' defense just isn't good enough. You know, Matt Milano is obviously a really good player. They've got some pass rushers, but and maybe that's more credit to Mahomes. I mean, you can always say that about a defense when you're facing Mahomes. And you mentioned Schuster, who was huge. Worthy had a touchdown. Are you looking at the Bills' defense and saying they can improve and bring in?
Oh, they have to. They have to.
That's to me that's like Allen and the offense. They did everything they could, but that the Bills' defense, I told this to somebody last night watching the game. I thought Spagnuolo might have won that game. You could have given him credit. I mean, to that blitz package and the Bills' offensive line too. Like it seems like in the crucial areas that Terry talks about the premium positions, whether it's your left tackle or an edge rusher. It feels like the Bills are just not good enough in those areas.
Well, now I will say this: the Bills have one of the best left tackles in the business, and that Deion Dawkins kid. He's really good. But
yeah, well, like maybe not the left tackle, but like there were some times that O-line got beat up.
Yeah, but Josh Allen can make up for it, and they give him enough time. They're not an offensive line like the Philadelphia Eagles, that's for sure. And one thing that irritated me all day was Tony Romo kept talking about it. Hey, the tush push. Use the tush push. You're not going to stop a 240-pound quarterback. Well, they stopped him 4 times in the game. Chris Jones kept tearing that up, and here's the deal. Chris Jones says, forget it. It's 4th and 1. I'm going to jump the snap count. If I get penalized, I get penalized. But he kept jumping the snap count. And 4 times. I text somebody the other day, like, you look at the Eagles and what they do, like, Jalen Hurts squats like 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the guy is unbelievably, his physique is like, they've had on ESPN about his work ethic in the weight room, and like he can't squat like 600 pounds. It's crazy, but he's a strong guy. And I'm not saying Josh Allen's not, but like it's not as easy for the Buffalo Bills to do that as it is for the Philadelphia Eagles. That's why it's a weapon for the Eagles. And then Tony Romo kept talking about it, and I'm like, will we please stop doing that? Because every time it seemed like that, and they just stack the box, and then Jalen Hurts goes straight ahead. Yesterday, Josh Allen was trying to go over left tackle because he's trying to go over Deion Dawkins. And that's his best lineman. So when you do that and you stand straight up, a lot of times Josh Allen, he's a big guy, but he don't really get behind his pads. You know, Jalen Hurts gets behind his pads. That was the most frustrating thing to me yesterday. They kept getting those 4th down calls, and they kept trying to do the tush push, and it just was not working. Let's turn the page and let's do something else. Now that play that he had there at the end, where you got to give it to Spagnuolo. He's not going to sit back there and allow you to survey the field and watch what's going on a 4th down. And then the Dalton Kincaid guy, it's kind of like Mark Andrews did last week. He's got to catch that football. I'm sure he won't sleep for a couple of weeks either. That was a huge momentum in that game, and if they keep that drive going, you never know what's going to happen. Maybe they run the clock out, but I will say this, and Shannon Sharp said it this morning, if you left any time on that clock for Patrick Mahomes, he's going to do it again. He's going to bring you back down. The one thing that irritated me, though, and I told you earlier, but they ran it in the Super Bowl last year, that sprint right where he's got a run-pass option where he can throw it to the guy in the flat, or he's got a tight end, Travis Kelce or somebody, or he can run it. And The Buffalo Bills look like they were not prepared for it. And
Yeah.
when you're rushing a guy that scrambles, you have to stay the guys outside. I understand that Von Miller and those guys are trying to up their totals. I get it. He's I think he's got 10.5 sacks. He's the leader in active players right now in the playoffs. But when you're rushing Patrick Mahomes, if you go beyond his upfield shoulder and he's allowed to step up in the pocket and then get out of the pocket, that's when he kills you. You got to keep him in the pocket. If you can't keep him in the pocket, then you're going to get beat, because that's just what he does. He's done it for years. He won a Super Bowl last year doing that. They had a big 4th down in that Super Bowl game. You have to be prepared for that, Billy, and they just they were not.
It looked like
another thing. Let me say this. Another thing was the Benford kid got hurt, which was the DB, and they brought Elam in, and they were just literally running rampant against the Elam kid and against DeMar Hamlin. They were getting matchups on DeMar Hamlin and the Elam kid. When the Benford kid went out, that was a huge setback for the Buffalo Bills. And, hey, you got to give it to Andy Reid and the Kansas City coaching staff. They said, hey, if you get in trouble, you got a guy over here that's a backup. And you saw all those times. He would get up in your face, but right at the snap, he takes off. And that's just an easy completion for the NFL. And they worked him and they worked DeMar Hamlin pretty regularly.
Ryan Clark's actually doing a good job of showing that, what you were talking about, and Orlovsky on ESPN right now. You know, we talked about Chip Kelly being a step ahead of Al Golden in the national title game.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like at times here, where, you know, you've got the Chiefs in their offense, and it helps when you have Mahomes, but it almost looked like the Bills had like 6 or 7 guys on defense at times out there. Like the space that they create, like how do they, and it's the scheme, but like I don't know how many times they threw it out to the running back, and you know it was a short throw, but he gets 13 yards. Like, why can't that be stopped?
How many teams though trust their quarterback enough to throw that last ball to get a first down to win the game? How many teams are? Most teams would have just ran that football
off the bench.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he started out on the right side, and then he came back to the left, and you see when they showed the camera behind him, you see the guy had him man-to-man, and he's having to weed through all that. He has no shot. He has no shot. And that was the only guy they were going to. But it's discipline, Billy. It's discipline when you're rushing a guy that can make things happen with his feet. And that's what Patrick Mahomes has done his whole career. When he gets in trouble, he can buy himself enough time. But when you let him go to the right, to his passing arm, it's deadly. And that's what I'm saying. These defensive linemen, these defensive ends have got to stay to his upfield shoulder, and they can't get beyond that. If they get beyond that, then all he has to do is step up, and now he can do whatever he wants to. If those 4 guys can keep him in the pocket and make him throw the football and kind of squeeze the pocket on him, that's how you keep him and make him throw. Now, he can beat you throwing the football, but he's still not as lethal when he's in the pocket as when he's running around. And yesterday, Buffalo did not do a good job of that. And if you look at it, the Oliver kid can rush, but they're undersized up front, Billy. Like Von Miller's not a very big guy. They're undersized. Their linebackers are not very big. You know, it's great that they got Milano back, but still, they've got to do some work on that defensive side of the ball if they're ever going to get past the Chiefs.
Yeah, let's get into the other game, the Commanders and the Eagles, which wasn't much of a game. 55-23, the Eagles blow them out. Daniels, 29 of 48, a lot of incompletions. He did throw for 255 yards. And Barkley, you know, he had 3 touchdowns. But, you know, this wasn't one of his patented, 200-yard performances with, over 20 carries. Ertz had a good day, but I mean, you can't. It's hard to beat the Eagles when you let Barkley score 3 times and you're turning the ball over, the way the Commanders did, and it felt like they were still in it, even in that second half. But the Eagles scored again, I think, to make it 41, and that was all she wrote.
That was the first time in NFL history that teammates both had 3 rushing touchdowns. Like Saquon Barkley had 3, Jalen Hurts had 3. So I'll be honest with you. I told somebody the other day, and I'm sure people out there listening are going to be irritated at me, but it's the new style of football. I don't like it. But Philadelphia uses it, and they run the ball down your throat. And that's what they're going to do. I don't know if Kansas City can stop it, but they always have Patrick Mahomes. And Philadelphia's defense is really good. I mean, it's like Georgia of the North. I mean, they've got Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. All three of them come from Georgia. But they're really good. They're really good up front. They're really good defensively, but just running the football, what they do, and then Jalen Hurts he's accurate enough when they have to throw the ball and when they need something, they can do that. I just don't understand when you're in an NFC championship game or an AFC championship game for that matter. How do you allow 55 points to be scored on you? Like, I know you had turnovers, and that's the first time that the Commanders have been in that situation, and this is the fifth time that the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. But how do you allow that to happen? Now, I was thinking about that this morning. Is it when it gets where you can't come back? Are those guys just giving up? Or I don't understand how you allow 55 points scored on you in the championship game. And obviously, the Commanders are not there yet. The Eagles are really good, though. And I'm going to say it again. I was worried about my Buffalo Bills getting there because they're not a good matchup. Not a good matchup with the Philadelphia Eagles up front. I really don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be interesting to see what Kansas City does. But like, if they can keep the ball away, because they've got to be able to keep the ball away from Patrick Mahomes and keep him on the sideline. Now, if Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts can keep getting first downs, they can do that. But if it's me and I'm Steve Spagnuolo and I'm the Kansas City Brain Trust, I am not allowing Saquon Barkley to beat me.
Yeah.
I am going to make Jalen Hurts throw the football. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm sure they'll do that because here's the deal. Kansas City, we've talked about it before, but Kansas City's defense has become the mainstay of that team. Like, Patrick Mahomes, when they first got there, offensively, they were it. They were the guys. They could score against anybody, score a bunch of points. It doesn't matter if they're down, they're going to score at the end. But now the defense is kind of taking that over. And, Chris Jones, they got the Tranquil kid. They got these guys in the secondary that can cover people. And if you want to do that and you want to play, I think they match up really well. Maybe A.J. Brown's a mismatch because of his size, but I think they can run with anybody. So if it's me and I'm Steve Spagnuolo, I am going to make Jalen Hurts beat me. I'm not going to allow him to run around and to run and I'm not going to let Saquon Barkley beat me. I'm going to put more guys in the box than you can block. And hey, if Jalen Hurts beats us, then I'm going to shake your hand at the end of the game and hey, you got us. But I am not going to allow Saquon Barkley to beat me.
We're going to get more into that matchup coming right up, and we'll take your calls as well coming up probably around 4:20 if you want to call in, talk about the Super Bowl matchup. We'll get into some more SEC basketball as well. But coming up, we're going to talk more about this Chiefs-Eagles matchup. This is 94.9 The Fan.
This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks, and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
As we step into the new year, there's nothing more important than family and safety. If a car wreck or big truck accident turns your world upside down, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, we're experienced, and we're ready to fight for what you deserve. Call us anytime at 615-242-9000. Really wishing you a safe and happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615 486-3458, or visit the website coolspringsmd.com. Are you concerned about the Medicare Part D changes for 2025? Believe me, you're not alone. You need to contact Pancos Benefits. They'll make the changes clear and easy to understand. Trust Pancos to guide you through it all. Their knowledgeable team is here to help you understand the updates and make informed decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancos Benefits today at 615-292-3400 and choose option 3, or visit pancosbenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3.
No, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
A lot of people want to define teams by singular performances.
Sports. Did he not go back into the game after that interception?
Let's get this turned around. And we're all saying, no, they don't. Here.
You thought you were on your way.
Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Super Bowl 58 is set in New Orleans here in just a couple of weeks. Do you like that, Kelly? We still got 2 weeks basically till the Super Bowl.
Just linger it out some more. It's kind of like the college football playoff, but they got to play this. They got to play this ridiculousness stuff with the Pro Bowl, with the games re-envisioned. I mean, what? Like, I don't. Why are people going to watch that? Yeah, we've got dodgeball. We've got a flag football game. We've got the competition with the QBs. I don't know. Like,
hey, I'll give them credit.
Why are you still having that?
Well, I'll give them credit that they've changed it, and people, it's not just the game got so bad that you had to do something, and they did something, but I think you're right. I mean, the players probably care less about, they just want to go hang out and drink for the most part. They can care
that's
less.
it. It's good to get honored like that, but like, why aren't we still playing this stuff? Like, but
yeah,
here's the deal. In the stadium last year, the stadium was full. They were watching that garbage.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Like, I can get it where they've got to do something else, but why have something like that? Like, do something else. Like, hey, it's great to be honored. Let's do something at the Super Bowl with all that. I don't know. I don't know how you do it, but like, I would definitely not. Like, I put it on there last year, and I'm like, I cannot believe. I just wanted to see how many people were at the stadium watching that, and I was amazed. Like, why?
Yeah.
Don't get it.
It felt like it felt like the NBA. It's very NBA-esque when I tuned in last year.
What's going on, Billy? What's going on with the NBA? They're down like 53% in their viewership. What's going on? Do you know?
No, I mean, we've talked about it. It's not. I think load management is a big problem. Do you
really?
These players will sit out, for a week or two at a time and not even be hurt really, and the load management, that's probably the biggest issue. I mean, obviously you had all the political stuff, but, there's still some really good players. I mean, it's a good product, but yeah, it's way down,
Way down.
Yeah. But they won't be way down for the Chiefs and the Eagles here in a couple of weeks, 5:30 kickoff on Fox. You mentioned it, Kelly. The Chiefs, I'm seeing still at 1.5, at least on ESPN right now. It's a rematch from a couple of years ago between the Chiefs and the Eagles. They came from behind to win that game 38-35, and then they beat the Niners last season in the Super Bowl. I think that aspect of it is interesting, Kelly. You go back 2 years ago to this very same, not the same Eagles team, but similar Eagles team, right? I mean, same head coach, same quarterback.
Yeah.
That you got to think that plays in. You're still playing against Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the Chiefs, but these are, they're in two different spots. The Eagles, you would say, are a better team than they were a couple of years ago, and the Chiefs are different. Maybe they're not worse, but they're just differently built, like you said, with the defense. I'm really interested to see how different this could look than it did a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I'm just not sure about the matchup. And it's been a hard matchup for everybody. It's amazing to me that the Philadelphia Eagles have pretty much the same team as they had last year. Now, Harry Roseman went out and he got some guys, and his draft picks hit. He obviously is very intelligent about that. And we always talk about the Titans in that role where they haven't had many guys hit, especially in rounds 3 through 7. That's when you got to make money. That's when you got to make hay with guys that you do a lot of research on, and they're not heralded guys, but that's where you build a team. And that Howie Roseman guy can do that. He's shown over the years. He's been with those guys for like 25 years or something like that. So he's built a good team, but it's just amazing that they have pretty much the same team with the exception of a few guys. And last year, you'd never know what's happening in a locker room. You really don't. And I heard some deals because we had A.J. Brown here at the Titans, but I heard he was causing some troubles last year with Jalen Hurts, and he was making his voice known. And Jalen Hurts is kind of not that guy. I mean, I wouldn't think he would be a confrontational guy. And I think that really hurt the team last year. But hey, they come back this year, and Nick Sirianni's got them playing. I don't. Once again, I'm sorry if I'm offending people out there, but I just don't like in the pros. I like watching pass. I understand that you got to be able to run the ball some, but they just. I'm not a. And I've said this over and over again. I didn't have this ability, so maybe I'm upset. Maybe I'm jaded a little bit because I couldn't run the football. But I just don't know how you. Like Jalen Hurts is different. Patrick Mahomes is different. He can protect himself and he can make things, but he's always looking to throw. But Jalen Hurts, he can throw the football. He's gotten a lot better since he was in Alabama. But he's more of a run first guy, and he's kind of like he's a bona fide running back who can throw the ball a little.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what you got. So I don't know how good of a matchup it is for KC, but they'd be able to stop Saquon Barkley if they cannot stop the run game and they. Eating up the clock and eating up yards and keeping Patrick Mahomes in the offense on the sideline, that's not a good mixture for the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's the way I would do it. And I said it in the last segment. I'm going to make Jalen Hurts beat me. I'm not going to let Saquon Barkley. I'm going to get more guys in the box where they can't block all of them, and then Jalen Hurts, you're going to have to beat me throwing the football.
So you mentioned the matchup, right? How you're kind of worried about the matchup for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Their defense finished the regular season ranked 4th in scoring defense, only giving up 19 per game. It doesn't feel like they'll have to score a ton to win this game. I don't know if you agree. I know the Eagles just put up 55, but the Commanders defense, I mean, it's not the Chiefs defense. So you got to imagine they don't have to score 30, maybe not even 25 to win this game. Their defense has been so good. But also that pass rush for the Chiefs. I mean, I think people forget about that. They had 10 sacks combined against the Texans and the Bills in the postseason. So is that the hope for the Chiefs, that the defense is able to contain? You're not going to stop Barkley and then Hurts with his legs as well. But if you can get some pressure on those passing downs for Hurts, you got to believe they'd be in a good spot to at least limit that offense to where they're not putting up, 40 on you.
In situations like this, you have to do something that teams do not like doing. And when you're running ball club like the Philadelphia Eagles, they don't like to get behind the chains. They like to get positive yards on first down. If you're getting positive yards and you pick up 6, then you're 2nd and 4, and then you're scheduled with the change. You're on schedule. But if you have a couple of penalties, or if you have a couple of busts up front, and then you get that's not where they want to be. And I think if Kansas City can do that, Kansas City, the Karlaftis kid's really good. Chris Jones he's unbelievable. Like being able to rush the passer from an inside defensive tackle spot, he's really good, and he can make. He's the catalyst for that defense. So it's just going to be interesting for me just to see how this all plays out. Both defenses are really good. They hold people. They can rush the passer. They can get pressure on you, and they can keep you from scoring. So if you're Philly, you want to keep Patrick Mahomes over there, and if you're Kansas City, you gotta load up the box, and you gotta make them do things that they're uncomfortable with, and they don't like being behind the chains. And if you can do that, then you may have a shot to win your third Super Bowl. It's gonna be fun. I just like this has never happened where a team has had an opportunity to win a third Super Bowl and they've made it to the Super Bowl. Like I said, 4 of them was before this, and they all lost in the championship game. So they've already done something historic. Now let's see if they can do something even more historic by winning their third in a row.
Well, and I brought up at the beginning there the difference between the 2022 Eagles and this year's Eagles. Miles Sanders is a good back, but he's not Saquon Barkley, right? So, I mean, there's your difference, and Hurts is better. You know, I mean, he's throwing, like you said, he's throwing the ball better, and with what they try to do, you know, reminds you a little bit of the Titans when they made their playoff run, where you've got a back like Derrick Henry, you've got a quarterback that can run it a little bit. He's not a great passer, just does what he has to do, especially on play action. And, you know, you've got A.J. Brown. And I think, you know, going back to that Super Bowl, didn't Brown have a big drop or something, Kelly? He didn't play great in that, or he wasn't even, hold on.
Who did you say, Billy? Who did you say?
A.J. Brown. He wasn't even.
I don't even remember. Yeah. No, he was there. Yeah, he was there.
Well, he was okay. He was there. Yeah, but I feel like there was either a big drop or a misread or something to where, you know, it's not like you're blaming A.J. Brown for that loss, but maybe if he comes up with that catch, like A.J. Brown, to me, if he does what he can do, and if he's full A.J. Brown, I'm kind of with you. I think it's going to be tough for the Chiefs. You say that, and I find myself picking against Mahomes, which
I know that's what everybody's talking about. Like everybody wants to pick. Like there was a lot of people that thought that the Buffalo Bills were going to beat them at Kansas City, and then you're all eating your own words today because they did. They just. It doesn't matter what he's got to get at the end of the game. It seems like he's made a conscious effort over the year. Like he's started for 7 years, Billy, and he's been in 7 AFC championship games, and he's going after his 4th Super Bowl. It's amazing.
Did you see where they showed Brady? He's got 35 playoff wins, and Mahomes still just has 17. Like he's still just now halfway to Brady after all he's done.
It's crazy though. Like, you know, he's been to. This is going to be his 5th Super Bowl. They got beat by the Tampa Bay Bucks, but he's going after his 4th win in the Super Bowl, and he's going after something historic 3 times in a row. Here's what both these teams do that are really good that you have to do when you make it to this game, Billy. They don't turn the ball over. And you saw yesterday what happens when you turn the ball over as you're watching the Commanders.
You're done.
Now, everybody wants to say, you got a young quarterback, you're going to be back there. Well, tell Dan Marino that, because Dan Marino went his 2nd year, and he never got back. He was kind of the new thing coming in. And you just never know. When you have the opportunity, you need to make the most of the opportunity. Everybody was talking about the Detroit Lions last year. They're going to be back. Well, they were the number 1 seed, and they got beat by the Commanders at home. You just never know. You have to make the most of your opportunities, and that's what Kansas City does, and neither one of these teams turn the ball over. So it's going to be an interesting game. I can't say that you can ever bet against Patrick Mahomes, though, because he's done it time and time and time again. Now, sometimes at some point in the future, and it might be 2 weeks from yesterday, but He's not going to make the plays at the end.
Yeah.
But Michael Jordan did that a lot too. I mean, he was not scared to take the shot, but he missed a lot of them too. But nobody remembers that. They remember all the plays that he made. So I'm just looking forward to a good game. I hope it's a good game. We don't need 55 points scored like in the AFC or the NFC Championship yesterday.
Which is a down. I mean, you tune out after the, at halftime. I'm sure a lot of people did.
I was almost over last night with the Buffalo game. Every time they were calling the tush push, I told myself, I'm going to cut this off. I can't stand it. Like, what are we doing? Like, that's Philly's deal. Let them do it. Just hand it to the back. Just hand it to the back. Dalvin Cook. Or was it James Cook? Excuse me, James Cook. Like, just hand it to him. He's a really good player. He's going to get you a yard.
Oh, poor Bills. Bills can't get it done. We got the Chiefs, Eagles in the Super Bowl. We're going to talk a lot more about that, obviously, throughout the next couple of weeks. But we got Stat of the Day coming up. And, Kelly, I know you're not an expert on SEC hoops.
Does that mean that I'm going to have to do this by myself? I was just thinking about that.
Do what?
Do the Stat of the Day by myself.
Oh, yeah.
This is a straight gym shoe operation, dude.
And
what are we doing? Can we get a phone a friend? Can George, is he weak in his bed or something? Can we phone a friend and see if he can help us?
Listening, George, call in and help.
Phone a friend.
This is a Vandy basketball question.
Yeah. Phone a friend, Jorge. Come on.
So Kelly on an island with Stat of the Day. We got that coming up. We'll talk some SEC basketball, and then we'll open up the phones. We want you guys to come in here and call. We'll get the chat room open as well. But Stat of the Day coming up right here on 94.9 The Fan.
Where can you see a saber-toothed tiger rappel from the rafters? How about a catfish fly? The biggest stars in Music City. Not to mention hockey's hottest ticket.
The Predators win!
Only in Smashville. See your Nashville Predators all season long at Bridgestone Arena. Single game tickets are on sale now at NashvillePredators.com. Let's go, Preds!
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
The George Plaster Show gets advertisers the results they're looking for. For example, here's Metro Nashville police officer Garen Hoskins.
You hear me all the time on the show talk about, changes in career and people looking to serve their community and get into law enforcement and join a great department. And I just so happened to meet an individual who heard my segment on your show and has already applied, has come from multiple different career paths and has always had this dream. And we're very glad to have him. And that's just going to be the start of many.
If you want to be part of the Plaster Show advertising family, it's simple. Just email me, plastergeorge@gmail.com. Again, plastergeorge@gmail.com. We will fit your budget and your needs.
John Harbaugh is going to be fired, but I am going to acknowledge that John Harbaugh is going into the last year of his contract, and this playoff loss makes for an interesting decision this offseason in terms of what they're going to do from a contract extension standpoint. And I ain't changing the quarterback. So if I'm not getting rid of him, the obvious answer would be the head coach.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
I look at what happened with Chicago, and some of it was outside of Caleb Williams' control, but a lot of it was him too, holding on to the ball too long. He looked like a rookie at some point. Jaden Daniels has looked like anything but a rookie. So I think he could have gone anywhere and been better than a lot of other quarterback situations. And if you're any other team in the NFC, watch out.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday mornings starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2. You can't miss a moment with Greeny.
We came in here the morning after Detroit lost to San Francisco in the NFC Championship game last year, and I said they will rue that loss. This assumption that they just get right back to this spot next year because they seem a year ahead of schedule because they're so young and good, and this is just the beginning. I've seen that happen in sports a million times. It usually doesn't go that way.
Mike Greenberg, Greeny.
You cannot take the number of terrible sacks that C.J. Stroud took in that game. You cannot leave all those points on the field with your kicker, with the field goals that he missed and you get blocked and missing an extra point. You can't do those things against the two-time defending champs in their building and come back and tell me the refs are the reason that we lost. That really rubbed me the wrong way.
Greeny, weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Plus, you can watch and listen on the ESPN app.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan. A Cromwell media station.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
All right, we're talking some SEC basketball coming up. But first, stat of the day brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. You can find them in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, or Gallatin. Give them a call, 615-754-9800, or log on to their website. That's applecollisioncenters.com. All right, Kelly Holcomb on an island.
Yeah. Thanks, George. Way to go.
Vanderbilt basketball is finding ways to score this year. Which Vanderbilt players scored the most total points in a season in Vanderbilt history? A little hint, he's a more recent player, so not in the 70s, 80s, or 90s. This isn't as bad as I thought it was, actually.
Darius Garland was hurt a bunch, though, was he not?
Yeah, he only played 5 games.
Yeah. Thanks, George. If you're out there listening, what a loser you are for not calling in.
Parting gift.
Yeah, he's probably in the bed in a fetal position. Yeah, I have no idea there, Billy.
Not even one guess.
Do you know this? Do you know it without looking at it?
Well, when I saw the question, I read it, and I don't think I would have gotten this right. But I mean, you'll recognize the name because
is it like Drew? Is it like Drew Maddox or somebody?
No, it's even it's more recent than that.
Is it really?
Yeah, to score the most total points in a season, and they were bad. They weren't good this year. And I'll go ahead and say it. It's Scottie Pippen Jr.
Scottie Pippen Jr. Oh wow. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, and somebody chimed in here on YouTube and said, Kelly, the answer is Scottie Pippen.
Well, I mean, that would have been awesome if you would have done it 10 seconds earlier. That'd been great.
That's a tough one because I would have probably said like John Jenkins or something, like a shooter like that. But right. I understand this because Pippen was on such a bad team. So there you go, Scottie Pippen.
I saw him play a couple of times. Yeah, I saw him play a couple of times. He could score it. There's no doubt about that. And he was quick. Is he anywhere right now, Billy?
I think he's playing in Memphis and playing a decent bit, actually.
Oh, is he? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I saw some highlights the other night. He's he's not the biggest guy, but he's good on defense and he's a smart player. But yeah, his last year, and I don't know if this was his last year at Vandy. They were okay. They were middle of the road, but I mean, he was scoring a boatload every night. It felt like so. I can understand why he was there. All right, 4:00 hour. We're talking some SEC basketball. We're going to open the phones at about 4:20, so you can go ahead and get in now if you'd like to, as well if you've got some college basketball questions. It was a big weekend for Vandy and Tennessee. If you want to talk a little Titans coming up on the draft, talk Super Bowl, 615-553-0933. Again, that's 615-553-0933. Chime in the chat room as well if you want to do it that way. Kelly, Vandy beat number 9 Kentucky, and they find themselves ranked in the top 25. If you would have told me that before this season, or even after they fired Jerry Stackhouse, that hey, they're going to be ranked in the top 25, they're going to be ranked ahead of UConn. UConn's number 25 right now.
Yeah.
If you look at the rankings. So, and we've talked about it, what Mark Byington has done, but to change that roster completely to flip the roster, and they talked about it a lot on the broadcast, but to have these guys fit together so well. I mean, it's one thing to bring in talent and pay guys. And, we saw Ole Miss do it in football, and obviously Ohio State and a lot of Power 4 football programs did it. A lot of basketball programs are doing it. But it's another thing to have them fit together and strategically place them on your roster and in those lineups. And you beat a top 10 Tennessee team last weekend. Now you beat a top 10 Kentucky team. I mean, Kelly, this Vanderbilt team is legit. And if you don't believe that, you're selling yourself short and I know they lost Alabama, but there's going to be a lot of people that lose Alabama in Tuscaloosa by 20 or so. That's just what the SEC is this year. But Kelly, they're a tournament team, barring a complete meltdown. And right now they're probably sitting at a 9 or a 10 seed. And I would have thought you were crazy if you told me that before this season started.
Yeah, Joe, I was watching a thing with Joe Lenardi. He was talking about how the SEC may get 13 teams in the NCAA tournament. That is the most, like, if that happens, that's the most ever since I think the Big East got 11. So it takes work, Billy. You understand that. You know that. He's obviously, we've heard Mark Byington is a grinder. And when you got guys like that who sleep, eat, breathe basketball, I think that's the kind of guy he is, and that's what it takes. If you want to be successful, you have to be willing to do that. And I think he is. And there's no reason that Vanderbilt, you talked about it early in the show in the opening, talking about how Vanderbilt, there's no reason that they can't have a good women's and a good men's team at Vanderbilt. And seems like they got the coaches in place. Seems like they got the players in place. That women's team, I've seen them up close and personal, and they're going to keep driving. They're going to keep shooting up the top 25. In my opinion, they're really good. They can play, and obviously Mark Byington has got these guys believing, and it's got George and yourself and the thousands of people that go to Memorial Gymnasium believing. And how was the atmosphere the other night? Was it good?
Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome. There's a lot of blue. It's probably more blue than orange from last weekend. But, they're loud. And there needs to be, and I told George I would talk about this today, but I don't know what else has to happen for there to be majority black and gold in there. And now I'll say this too. It's a 14,000 capacity arena, so it's not it's not on the smaller end. It's not like Neville Arena at Auburn where it's 8,000 or 9,000.
Right.
And their fan base has changed. Their fan base has gotten older. There's probably some fans that aren't able to make it to games or just don't feel like it. But I think that means they got to get younger. And they do a lot of different things at halftime. They have some Nashville songwriter, singer go up there. Like, they do some good stuff for the younger generation to get in the gym. But I was telling George during the game, like, there's no reason it should look like this in here and have, more blue in here. And maybe that changes, but it was still a really good crowd. I mean, towards the end, the student section's packed. That's not a problem. It's kind of that sidewalk fans still getting them into the arena. But as the Kentucky fans are leaving, students are, giving them the wave and, nah, goodbye. Like, it's a fun atmosphere, but it can be better even. But they got off to a 41-27 start. They led at half and they ended the first half on a 20-4 run. Then Kentucky stormed back to take a 7-point lead at one point. And then Vandy just got back to identity. They get steals, they get out in transition, and they score on the other end. I wouldn't say they're a prolific offensive team. They got some good shooters, whether it's Jason Edwards or Tyler Nickel, but they get out in transition like no other. I don't know if you remember the Shaka Smart VCU teams, Kelly. That's what I think of with this. They create havoc. and they're not a fun team to play against, especially inside Memorial Gym. But another top 10 win. They've got a break this week, and then they've got Oklahoma on the road on Saturday, but it doesn't get any easier in the SEC. We do have Tony in Nolensville on the line. He just got in here, so we'll go to Tony now. Tony, what's going on? Thanks for hopping in.
Hello, Billy. Do you have me?
I got you.
All right. I didn't know. I was pretty early. I wasn't expecting you to come to me that quick, so thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, you got it.
Kelly, can you hear me okay?
I got you. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right, guys. All right. And wherever George is, I hope he's doing well. I hope he's okay. So, I want to talk a couple of things here about Vanderbilt, Billy. About the fines, guys. The fines. It's time that we do stop storming the court. Even though we got Auburn coming in, ranked probably number one when they get here, or not too far down if they get beat. We don't need to storm the court if we beat them. We need to start acting like we've been there. We've done that. We're expected to win. But here's my point about these fines. And I put this on Facebook. Billy, you might have seen it in one of the chat rooms. We paid millions to a thief in Stackhouse who stole money from Vanderbilt. We paid him millions for losing. By God, we can pay these fines for winning. Y'all agree with that?
I agree with you. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
I understand where the students are and where we are at that, but I don't want to hear Candace and the Vanderbilt administration talking, we need to stop this and blah, 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 when they paid millions to a guy who lost every year he was here and walked away with his pockets full. I do understand the money could go towards our NIL and everything else, but that's just the way I, as a fan, and many others feel the same way. But it does need to come to a halt. Maybe do it if we knock Auburn off in their number one. But, I think they did it the other day. And, Kelly, I'm with you. Somebody's going to get hurt eventually, purely by accident. Maybe we've seen some of these other places where players have actually been, attacked by someone saying something to them and they knock the hell out of them,
Yeah.
You've been on the field, what it's like after just been in battle for 60 minutes and you just lost a tough game. You don't want to have somebody coming in your face and that didn't play in the game and try to, up you. So, but anyway, that's my take on that. Now, Billy and Kelly on Byington. Back in the day, Billy, I don't think you were even born. There was a great coach at Vanderbilt named Eddie Folkler. Won the SEC regular season championship. Had a contract. Should have had a contract waiting on him, signed, ready to go. He come back. Vanderbilt wouldn't give him the contract. And after winning the SEC championship regular season, he left and went to South Carolina. They let him go. Kevin Stallings we had for 17 years. There was a lot of people wanting Kevin gone, but in 17 years, Kevin Stallings produced 4 SEC players, took us to the postseason playoffs, I think 5 times to the NIT, 7 times to the NCAA, 12 times in 17 years. But they pushed him out the door. You've got a guy right now, you better, and y'all gonna like how I do this, anchor him down, pay the man. It's in his name, Byington, buy the man, lock him down, anchor him down, and secure him because there's already other universities. His name's going to be popping up, and they need to get this guy locked in, extend his contract, give him a raise now before somebody comes in here with a big load of money and snatches him away and pays his buyout. So that's what I got to take on that. And the last thing I want to touch on, guys, on the NFL, Kelly, I'm with you 100%. you just got to find a way to get those 1 yards and stuff. And I just thought the Chiefs, they just out-schemed the Buffalo Bills. Defensively, they out-schemed them over the Bills' offense because they just had their number up front and they just couldn't get nothing done. And then on that last play, you had I've gone blank with the quarterback name. Senior moment there, Billy.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. He ran right into the blitz when he got pressured, and the Chiefs knew that anytime he wanted to do the tush push or brother push, whatever, they said they knew he always wanted to go over the left guard, and they stopped him 4 times. So I just thought they out-schemed them, out-coached them in those regards. Guys, I'm going to get off here. Thank you for letting me say my piece. Y'all can chime in on it and talk about it. So talk to you tomorrow. See ya.
Got it,
Tony. See ya.
Thanks, Tony. Kelly, I'll let you respond on that Josh Allen.
I agree with him. I told somebody yesterday that I just felt like the Bills got out-coached. I really did. Like, you have to be fundamentally sound against a playmaker like Patrick Mahomes. And defensively, it takes a little bit of – you got to put down the selfishness, and you got to be able to be willing to win a game. And sometimes when you're talking about guys that make all this money and there's a little bit of ego involved, they want to get sacks. And they want to get sacks in the postseason, and maybe they have incentive for the postseason, but you have to put yourself aside. You have to keep him in that pocket. If you do that, you got a shot. Now, I said it earlier, he can beat you throwing the football, but when he gets outside, he's really dangerous, and he can run. He can run. So I just I don't know. It's hard to beat those guys. It's especially hard to beat them in Kansas City. I think it's going to be a good matchup. I'm looking forward to seeing it because we can all talk about it. We can prognosticate as much as we want to. But just like Patrick Mahomes said before the game, nobody really matters except who's in that locker room, except who's in that organization. People can be against us, which everybody's – it's starting to get a New England Patriot feel where Brady had won so much that everybody was just against the Patriots because he won. And Bill Belichick had that team focused. Andy Reid has his team focused, and they win so much that people are getting upset. But don't get upset at them because they're professionals and they work hard at it and they go about their business. They're focused and they're a really good football team. So I just thought the Bills got out coached. I really did, and it kind of sucks because I'm for the Bills.
Yeah, and back to Tony's point on Byington, I think it's a good point that Vanderbilt does need to lock him down. But if you're Byington, and we had a comment from somebody on YouTube saying that Virginia believes they can get him, and Virginia, that there will be an opening. He's from Virginia. You would imagine they try to go after him. Indiana will probably fire Mike Woodson. They'll have an opening. You also look at there was one more big program. North Carolina could have an opening as well. But if you're Byington, would you rather stay at Vanderbilt, which you've built up here? You've got a foundation already in year one. You know, you're in the top 25. You're in Nashville. You're in the SEC. To me, Kelly, it'd be tough for a coach to leave the SEC and go to the ACC, which right now sort of a forgotten league. I mean, the ACC, they've got 3 or 4 good teams, and everybody else is in the basement. So yeah, maybe the ACC, if you turn that program into a winner quick, maybe it's an easier league. But just in terms of eyeballs and exposure and competition, I think I don't see why he would leave. I'm not saying Vanderbilt shouldn't give him a raise. They've got to lock him down, and they're going to have to fend off some schools in the offseason. But I just wonder, Kelly, from a coach's perspective, do you leave Vanderbilt if you've got it in a spot right now? And I know, like, if North Carolina comes calling with a bag, then I could see that. Right. And Virginia's a really good program too. Indiana is too, but the SEC is the premier leagues. I just wonder
right now, I mean, but and it's probably because of all this NIL money. I said this a couple of weeks ago, but SEC is willing to divvy that money up, Billy. And it really boils down to him being from Virginia. Like, I'm sure when he got into coaching, I'm sure he said, my dream job is University of Virginia. It all depends on what you want as a coach. Now, over time, your goals and your dreams may change. But that's what I was going to ask you, and I was going to ask Tony. Do you think that Vanderbilt is a job that can get you to, like, they're not a blue blood. They're not
No.
that. So maybe you think you can do that at Vanderbilt. Can you? Can you do that at Vanderbilt? Can you, like, I would think with just hearing y'all and just talking to him that day we talked to him, he seems like he's a very goal-oriented, a confident guy. Seems like he wants to be here, but would he like to do it at a place like this where nobody believes that he can at a Vanderbilt, maybe to go to the Final Four, the Elite Eight or something like that? Or does he maybe dream of when he's a kid being the University of Virginia head coach, or maybe going to North Carolina, which is a blue blood, which you can win there because of Dean Smith, because of Roy Williams, because of all the tradition that they've had at the University of North Carolina. So what are your goals? What is he thinking?
Yeah, I guess the question here is this a James Franklin situation where Byington came here believing he could win quickly in order to get a bigger job
and move on?
Or and move on, or is this a Clark Lee? Now he's not from Nashville, but I mean, Clark will probably be here for another at least 10 years. Who knows? And Kevin Stallings was here for a while. You know, it can be done here. And I mean, heck, we've talked about it a lot with George, and we'll probably, I do want to get into that more, but you're right. It's up to him. It's up to Coach Byington to figure that out. They got a season to finish out here, but either way, Vandy's going to have to fend off some big time schools here in the offseason.
How much is he making with his salary? Do you know?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. Well, I mean, that comes down to it too. I mean, if somebody throws, like you said, if UNC or Virginia or somebody from the ACC throws a bucket load of money at him, then you either buck up at Vanderbilt or you let him go. I don't know. I just think here's the deal now. I think it's too early. Just like I talked about Will Levis with y'all. I think it's too early. Like, he's doing some good things, but there's still a long way to go in this. But he's already proved that he's better than what y'all had. He's already proved that he's willing to work. He's a phenomenal coach, and he's willing to grind. And that's what makes good coaches. And I'm like Tony. I think if you're Vanderbilt and you like what you see, lock him up.
You got to anchor him down. And, man, he's done a heck of a job. Obviously, they'll have the week off, and then they'll be at Oklahoma on Saturday. Let's get the phone lines jumping. Again, we got Super Bowl. We've got SEC basketball. I do want to get more into that Tennessee-Auburn game, Kelly. I don't know if you watched that. I want to talk more about Tennessee and where they go from here. I've got a take that might surprise some people on that game. Obviously, Janai Broome came back. We'll talk about that, but we want to welcome your calls in. We'll get them right when you come in. Chat room is still open. The lines are wide open. 615-553-0933. 615-553-0933 if you want to jump in. This is 94.9 The Fan.
New year, new priorities. Family and safety come first. If a car or truck accident disrupts your life, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, experienced, and ready to fight for you. Call 615-242-9000. Happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Here to help you understand the updates and make informed decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancoast Benefits today at 615-292-3400 and choose option 3, or visit pancoastbenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3. The George Plaster Show gets advertisers the results they're looking for. For example, here's Metro Nashville Police Officer Garen Hoskins.
You hear me all the time on the show talk about changes in career, people looking to serve their community and get into law enforcement and join a great department. And I just so happened to meet an individual who heard my segment on your show, has already applied, has come from multiple different career paths, and has always had this dream. And we're very glad to have him. That's just going to be the start of many.
If you want to be part of the Plaster Show advertising family, it's simple. Just email me, plastergeorge@gmail.com. Again, plastergeorge@gmail.com. We will fit your budget and your needs.
Hey, Preds fans, the Predators return to action Wednesday night on home ice when they host the Vancouver Canucks. The game is at 8 o'clock for national television in Canada. As always, we'll have you covered all night long on Preds Radio.
Smashville lives here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Welcome back in. Kelly Holcomb, Billy Derrick here with you on a Reaction Monday. Kelly, it's about time we got some warmer weather. It's been in the 40s all day. Did you get out and play any golf?
I did not. I'm a little upset that you did not get the weather report, though.
I know.
That's pretty constant on the show, and George does a really good job of it. But it's a point of useless information. All you got to do is look outside, and we see it, George.
Danielle Breezy.
Daniel, hey,
No,
he
yo,
tries
it's
to be Daniel. I think he tries to be Danielle Breezy, but he's not.
Well, he just does it. I can't. The amount of stuff he does off the cuff is
he's
incredible.
good, man. He's
to
been
me.
doing this for
Like,
almost 50 years, probably, dude. I mean, he's really good. He can think of things really fast. He's George does a good job. I've told him that, man.
He's really. I mean, this like every time I do this, I'm like, this is not hosting. Is not
it's not
as
easy. No, it's not
It's
easy
just
because you've
not.
got to feel people out there that's listening. You have to feel minutes. Like we got that thing up on the screen, but you have to feel every second with something. And when you don't get calls, and when you better be willing to go off the cuff. George is good with that. I'm good with that. I
Yeah.
can do that. I can sell
Filibuster.
ice to an Eskimo. Yeah, that's correct.
But yeah, 40s right now. I think it'll be basically in the 40s all week. So a pretty good weather week. If you guys are wanting to get out, Kelly, I watched that Tennessee Auburn game,
Yeah.
and man, I thought going in, they get Broom back. I knew it wasn't going to be 100%, but the way they muddy up games is astounding. I mean, Auburn was out of their offense. Tennessee wasn't really scoring either. But I think that's an issue. I mean, in the modern age, we talked about that with Virginia and Tony Bennett. For as long as he was there, they just couldn't score at times. And I wonder if that ends up hurting Tennessee in March. And Dalton Knecht was a nice piece for them last year. I mean, they could just give it to him and he could drop 40 on any given night. And I know it was a 2-point loss, and they could have easily won that game, but that could be a sign that, this could hurt Tennessee come March.
I think so too. Janiah Broom is a really good player too. Like he is not overly athletic, but you're talking about understands how to use his body and physical, and he can make shots. He's kind of the catalyst for that team, and he didn't look like he was 100% healthy in that game either. But he is he's kind of the guy. I'm with you. I don't know. Like we thought Chaz Lanier was going to kind of take over for Dalton Knecht, but he's just not the same player.
No.
He can shoot the ball. There's no question. He can shoot the ball, but I just don't think there's a reason why Dalton Knecht is with the Lakers. He's playing. He's a really good basketball player, and it just shows you at the end of the game, though, who Coach Barnes trusts. He trusts the smallest man on the court, Zakai Ziegler.
I didn't like that. I mean, you've got you're down 2, and they went for the win.
Yeah.
I get him. There's 9 seconds. I get him in a ball screen, go downhill, try to draw a foul, and I know it went in and out. So that hindsight's 20/20, but I didn't love that.
Well, maybe Coach Barnes was thinking in his staff. They talk, and maybe they were thinking, I don't like our chances if we go to overtime.
So
maybe he was just trying to win it at that point. You never know what guys are thinking, but you can tell who he trusts. Yeah. And the guy's averaging 14 points a game, the smallest guy. Like he's like the
toughest. Incredible what he does.
He's the toughest guy. He fits Rick Barnes and Rick Barnes' character of what you want as a point guard. He leads everything, but you can tell who he trusts at the end of the game. He wanted him to take that shot. Now Chaz Lanier's only been there for a couple of months, and he don't know. I'm sure he probably knows what he's got, but in situations like that, he's been there with Zakai Ziegler a lot, and I think that he just felt more comfortable with that. But I'm with you. I'm not sure UT has enough scores, Billy. I really don't. I don't think they have enough scores when it gets crunch time, because if you take those two guys away, who's going to do it?
Yeah, Auburn stays at number 1. Alabama's at number 4. Florida's at 5. Tennessee at 8. Kentucky drops back to number 12 after losing in Nashville on Saturday. Texas A&M at number 13. Mississippi State at 14. Missouri at 20. Ole Miss at 23. And Vandy at 24. You've got 10 SEC teams in the top 25. Texas and Oklahoma are on the doorstep of the top 25 as well. The gauntlet continues, and you've got a pretty good slate tomorrow night in a big week for Tennessee. They host Kentucky tomorrow night at 6:00 on ESPN, and then Saturday they host Florida. So big week on Rocky Top. So we'll be looking forward to that with Tony Basilio tomorrow. But all of a sudden, Kelly, we got some loaded phone lines. I'm going to get to a few callers here. And if you guys want to hop in again, 615-553-0933, talking SEC hoops, some NFL. We got the Super Bowl set. But we're going to go now to Eric here in Nashville. Eric, what's going on?
Hey, guys, y'all talk about the weather. I just saw on the weather a few minutes ago. They're talking about Saturday, Sunday. We're supposed to be in the mid-60s. And also Sunday is also Groundhog Day.
There we go.
And it's yeah, and I also think it's hard to believe in the next 5 or 6 weeks it's going to be daylight savings times where we lose that hour of sleep. So, you know, the warmer weather's starting to come.
Thanks,
in
Eric.
time now. But guys, as far as the playoffs and everything go, one of the things, I don't know if you'd heard about this, but I don't know if it was FanDuel, another site about Super Bowl prices tickets. This is what I heard this morning on a national feed. They said the cheapest they saw was like $6,200, and they said the most expensive. This maybe is a different site. I heard the most expensive was like $56,000. So,
oh my God,
there's wide range of prices. And I've heard other sites where some might say this price or that price, but that's one I just heard. I don't know what all the other sites are saying, but that's what I've heard. But guys, as far as the conference championship games, guys, first of all, you got to really feel for Buffalo, the city of Buffalo. During the 90s, losing 4 straight Super Bowls to all the NFC East teams, the Giants, Washington, and twice to Dallas. And now them losing 4 straight to Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. I mean, it's not a rivalry yet because some are comparing it to like Peyton and Tom Brady. But Peyton finally broke through. Maybe Allen will break through. I don't know. But you just really feel for him. And just I just felt so bad for him. And maybe they'll eventually break through. I don't know. But it's just how many more chances you're going to get. You've got the Super Bowl, of course, coming up where Andy Reid is going to be trying to go for three-peat against his former team. So that's going to be a lot of storylines playing that up. But also as far as the NFC, you talked about the push to us, but I'm going to kind of stir it up a little bit because one of the things I thought was wild was where Washington kept getting penalized for being offsides, and then the referee making the announcement on this microphone saying that Washington's been warned if they do it again, they were going to give a score to Philadelphia. I'd never heard that, but apparently that's in the rule book that if you keep doing that, they can award the offensive team a score. But I tell you what, Chris Candy, I don't know if you heard about this, went off on that this morning. He was talking about, and I'm not in favor of outline the tush push. That's what he said. He was not calling for that. But about, I guess it's what was something with either the snap count or the hard count, which causes defenses to jump outside. I mean, they're trying to stop them from scoring. I mean, the rules favor the offenses so much. I don't know realistically what you could do with that. But he's saying that they ought to look into the offseason about that play, the tush push, about the snap count, the hard count, where it causes players to false start. I mean, defense certainly should be able to stop that, but that's just kind of hard when the referees say, well, we're going to give them a score if you can't stop that. But it's just like so many rules and everything favor the offense. It just wanted to get your guys' reaction to that. And just I wish George was there and his thoughts on that. But guys, I'll get off, let you get some other calls. Just wanted your thoughts on that. Guys, y'all take care and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, take out a mortgage. That's what George would say for the Super Bowl tickets.
Yeah, I don't know what you do with that play. Hey, if they're going to allow it, there's not many teams that do it. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles are the ones that do it. They've got a really good offensive line, and I think they've only been stopped a couple of times this year. So, what I said earlier in the broadcast is when you got a guy that is as physical and strong as Jalen Hurts, man, that's tough to stop. And when you got Saquon Barkley, that little power pack who's pushing on you, and you got other guys, Dallas Goedert will come in motion, he'll push you. It's just tough. So the only way you stop it is to outlaw it. And I don't know if they'll outlaw it. I really don't. It kind of brings, if you think about it, it kind of brings old school football back into the game. Like when they had the leather helmets and those guys just got behind everybody
it's like
and pushed. It's kind of, it is like rugby. And the only way to stop it, Eric, is to just ban it. And I don't know if they're going to do that. I guarantee you they're going to talk about it. They may, but NFL's got so many rules now, and he's right. I'm an offensive guy, and I hated getting hit. But nowadays, you're scared to death to touch a quarterback if you're a defender. Because more than likely, I guarantee it's a better than a 50% chance that you're going to get called with a flag.
I thought they were going to call the Josh Allen one late. I thought that they could have, you've seen that called before.
Yeah, you have. I don't like all the rules. The competition, the committee's got to set back down, but they're trying to make the game safer. But I don't like it because you've got to be able to affect the quarterback. Al Davis said a long time ago, if we can hit the quarterback and we can affect him, then that gives us a leg up in the game. And you're not allowed to do that anymore. And I'm not a fan. I'm a quarterback, and I wish I could have had a red jersey on. You just can't touch quarterbacks anymore. And when you're not allowed to touch quarterbacks anymore, it's like a 7-on-7. You know that you're not going to get hit much. And if you do get hit, you're going to get a 15-yard penalty. So I think the competition committee's got to go back and look at all that stuff.
Let's go to Clay in Nashville. Clay, how you doing?
Has George left the building?
He has left the building.
George
He'll be
never
back
came
tomorrow.
in the building.
Yeah.
All right, now Kelly, Paul.
Yes, sir.
Me, you, and
What's
Billy.
up, boss?
You know which side I'm on in this rivalry now. I got Billy's back now. Be nice to him.
Oh gosh. Clay, you got to get off of him, man. He's got to grow up, dude. He's got to understand how to fight his own battles, man. You don't need to help him. He is getting better, though. I will say that. He is getting better. Like, I've talked to George about it. Like, when I first came on, George told him kind of how I was, and he didn't really know how to take me, but now he does, which I like.
Guys, you know, I am proudly wearing a Vanderbilt hoodie. Mark Byington and the men's basketball team has beaten 2 top 10 teams the last 2 Saturdays at home. Here's a coach that brings in pretty much a whole new team. Brings in 11 guys out of the transfer portal. He's got 1 returning scholarship player in J.Q. Roberts, who played a little bit in the non-conference. Billy, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he's played in SEC play. I wouldn't swear to that, but I don't think so. He has not much. But, you know, this is developing into an amazing story. And what I want as a fan and somebody that cares about this program as much as anybody is people putting their butts in seats. You know, we've gotten through Tennessee. We've gotten through Kentucky. Auburn is probably the other team that's going to bring a lot of fans probably of, you know, the teams we have left to play. But, you know, I'm dreaming big, guys. I'm not really, you know, you count, can you get to 7? Can you get to 8? Well, those would be 3 or 4 more wins. I think it would be wonderful, an amazing thing if these kids and Coach Byington don't have to worry about anything. Well, they got to win 2 in the SEC tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm hoping we don't have, you know, we're locked. And I'd say right now we are. And it's just an amazing story. And I want this thing to continue to build and Memorial to get back to where it was, which it has been. If it was 50-50 in the Tennessee-Kentucky game, fine, whatever. I've heard all kinds of different, you know. But anyway, let's put black and gold in that place and make it like the old days.
Yeah, we were talking about it during the game.
Yeah, Clay, do you think he stays? Do you think he stays? We talked about that earlier, man. Here's the deal. Do you think it's a coveted job? Because that's what happens in big-time college sports now. When you're in the SEC, and you got the SEC behind you, the SEC brand, but, like, if a big school like a Virginia, which we just talked about, or maybe a North Carolina or somewhere, what do you do if you're Vanderbilt? You think he stays?
I think this is a good job. I do.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know, nationally it could be looked at, well, they hadn't been any good, you know, for a little while. But, you know, I think you can take that and turn it around. And Coach Byington said this. You know, he didn't look at this as a rebuild. He wanted to win now, and he is winning now. And I've got to believe the Virginia one does scare me. He is from Salem, Virginia. Tony Bennett quit for the same reason Jay Wright did, you know, with this transfer portal stuff. And I get that for coaches, you've got to re-recruit at the end of the year. You don't know what kids are coming back and who isn't. But I've got to believe, Kelly, that at the end of the day, you know, at least I'm on my knees praying maybe that, you know, Mark Byington will stay. He appears, you know, I haven't met him. I haven't developed a relationship or anything like that, but I would think he's happy here. You know, you're in the best city in the SEC, a city that's booming, a city that's got a lot going on. And you're in the SEC, which is the best conference it's ever been. So obviously the best conference in the country. And I just, you know, I really hope, and I think hopefully he will stay.
Well, and I think too, think about what he's doing right now. I mean, he did that in one off season. Get some high school recruits in there. Get some more portal guys in there. This is your foundation. And if you make the tournament this year, or when they make the tournament, like you said, Clay, they're a lock right now. There's still a lot of season left. I think they'll get in. But this is just the foundation. It's just the beginning. Imagine what this place could look like, what Memorial could look like, what this, this expectation level could be if he does stay. And I think that's why he came here. And I go back to one of his mentors, Bobby Crimmins. Bobby Crimmins, George had told me about this. He built up Georgia Tech to a level that they, he thought he could do. And he did that at Georgia Tech, at an academic school in a big city in Atlanta. There's money there. He's got the foundation now. And now if you get the donors on board, I think the sky's the limit. I'm kind of with Clay. It is a good job. Now, Virginia, it's a little scary, I'll admit. But Clay, I'm with you. I think, this is just the beginning, and that why not at Vanderbilt? Why can't he turn this back into what Kevin Stallings did, and maybe even better?
Quickly, one final comment, and then I'll get off and let other people get on. Billy, you've seen, since you kind of follow it closely doing the podcast, and by the way, the podcast, since the game the other night, I've watched them all, and they've been great. Appreciate that. But the last two games, Tyler Tanner, has been amazing with his steals, with his lack of turnovers, his intensity on defense, and the way that leads to offense. But in the last two games, what you've seen, and Coach Bargatze has said this on the Insiders, he's knocked down a three in both the last two games. So if he develops that going down the stretch of the season, then I think that only helps that much more.
Absolutely. Clay, appreciate it.
Thanks.
That's last caller this segment. We got Kenny the Mailman on the line. We're going to go to the break and get to Kenny the Mailman coming up. If you guys want to, probably got time for one more after Kenny. If anybody else wants to hop in, 615-553-0933. If you want to join, we got one more segment. We'll get to you, Kenny, and then we'll get to Bet of the Day right here on 94.9 The Fan.
Here's Officer Garen Hoskins for the Metro Nashville Police Department.
The Metro Nashville Police Department is on the forefront of policing in this century, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I get to find other good officers, other future good officers. And if you're watching today, or you yourself or someone you happen to know is interested, join MNPD.com. Feel free to reach out to us, because we need good officers, and it's a great city to work for.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com. Are you concerned about the Medicare Part D changes for 2025? Believe me, you're not alone. You need to contact Pancoast Benefits. They'll make the changes clear and easy to understand. Trust Pancoast to guide you through it all. Their knowledgeable team is here to help you understand the updates and make informed decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancoast Benefits today at 615-292-3400 and choose option 3, or visit pancoastbenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3.
today. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
You're two total screw-ups of humongous proportions.
Sports. We're not living in an era where perfection is necessary.
They thought they were a championship contending team.
Here, we told you not to do this. Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
We're going back to the phone lines, and it's actually not Kenny the mailman, just Kenny. So I added on the mailman. It's actually just Kenny. So Kenny, sorry about that. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing, Billy?
Doing good.
Well, I got actually a question for you and Kelly, and then a comment about Vanderbilt basketball.
Okay.
You know, this is the first time that I've actually got to watch and hear from both of you guys without George being in there dominating the conversation, and you guys are pretty good.
He tends to do that, man. Big ego.
Well, you know, he's been doing it since Moses was in short pants, so
correct.
You know, and then my comment on Vanderbilt basketball is I go back a long ways to 1974. 6 years old, watching the F Troop. And going forward to where we are now, I've watched a lot of the administration, how they handle things through the years, from athletic directors to presidents at Vanderbilt. And in the last few years, Vanderbilt has actually looked like they've made a commitment to athletics. With the stadium, it going up, you got cranes up around there, and it's not always over by the science building like it always has been in the past. It's actually in the athletic part of it. And I think that is one of the big key things that we're missing. Because I remember when Vanderbilt would have a player, try to get him in. Ron Mercer goes back, okay? Had Ron Mercer in our backyard, great player, ended up going to Kentucky because we wouldn't let him in because of a few percentage points on his ACT. So little things like that over the years have added up. But I think with, you know, Candace and the new president, I mean, he's on board. And I'll get off here and let y'all listen, let y'all talk about it and everything. But y'all are doing a great job, and if y'all want to keep George gone, I'm all for it.
Well, I think the show would the professionalism of this show would suffer a little bit. But Kenny, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I think he hit on everything, Kelly, and we've talked about it. They've invested, and you know they've got some wins to show for it now. You know, and that's winning cures all. You beat number 1 Alabama in football. You can't dispute that. You knocked off a top 10 Tennessee team at home, who, you know, they were. I think Rick Barnes was 16-4 against Vandy. You know, since he got there, so he dominated Vandy. You get that off your back, and now you beat Kentucky at home. You stormed the court twice, and sure, you got to pay some fines, but you know, I think the exposure and the positive energy around Vanderbilt right now, Kelly, we haven't seen it in a while, and they're winning. They're winning games in football and basketball, and it, you know, they're not in national championship contention, but it's a hell of a lot better than what we saw in last year's athletic year. So
my whole question, Billy, is this: I think you can do it in basketball with men's and women's, and obviously baseball. Tim Corbin's been doing that for many years. He's won a couple of national championships, but can you keep the success up at football? Diego Pavia is coming back. He won his lawsuit. People are going to be ready for him this year, and he's not going to get. everybody thought it was the same. That's what Alabama got into. Alabama thought it was the same old Vandy. And they brought in some players, and Diego Pavia was the one. It just shows you how a guy that has been told his whole life, and I said this back during football season, how he can change a culture. He's not the biggest guy in the world, not flashy, but he's gritty. And that's all it takes in football. You have to have a gritty guy. And he changed that deal. Now, he got him to 6-6. Now, I just wonder if they can keep that up. That's my whole deal. I don't know. I don't know. Can you get to 7 or 8 wins? If you get to 7 or 8 wins, man, you are going, like Clark Lee and his staff are going to be treated like kings around here. If you can get to 8 wins at Vandy, that's and that's where you want to go. I mean, we can always talk about, hey, we're looking for a national championship or we're looking for an SEC title. I don't know if that's realistic. Maybe in the near future. I don't know. You got to get the right pieces in place, and Diego Pavia was the guy for the job. So I don't know. I just worry about football.
All right. Well, you don't have to worry about George's record too much. He had another pretty good weekend. It's time to close today's show out with Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Let's take a look at what happened over the weekend for Plaz. He lost that Buffalo. He had the Bills to cover +1.5. I told him on Friday I didn't like it. Didn't work out. Yeah. He got the Eagles at a pick 'em. Of course, they won, and the Buffalo to cover 7.5. And he got Purdue. Purdue walloped Michigan Friday night. So
did they really? Wow.
Yeah. Pretty solid weekend for George. Here's what he's going with tonight. Passed it over. Arizona -2.5 against Iowa State. I think that's a ranked on ranked matchup. The big Monday matchup tonight. And Kelly, college basketball, I told this to somebody. Well, it's not a ranked matchup. Iowa State's number 3. Man, it feels like in some of these games, March is already here. The way some of these games are ending. I mean, buckle up.
Really is, man. It's this time of year, and March is around the corner, so that's when it gets heated.
So George going with Arizona to upset Iowa State tonight. That's 9:30 tonight on ESPN. That'll do it today. Out a little early today. George will be back tomorrow. Kelly, I'll see you tomorrow.
See you, Billy. Yes, sir.
And we will see you guys tomorrow right here on 94.9 The Fan.